we also helped another lady who was part-time, who's working currently on one of the most iconic projects here in South Australia. She is a senior project coordinator. She's working part-time. And the project director and the state manager of that organisation did not hesitate once to go, oh, how are we going to make this work? They just said, we will make this work. So I think there's been amazing change, and I feel that I'm actually really proud of the industry.
Welcome to Building Perspective, the Master Builders SA podcast. I'm your host, Will Frogley. Join me as I speak with some characters in the building and construction industry.
At Dulux Trade, we're making paint easy for tradies all over Australia. With over 230 stores and over 1,000 paint professionals, expert advice for your next job is closer than you might realise. Need specialist advice for a tricky job? Easy. On site and need it delivered? Easy. So get to know your local Dulux Trade Centre, Inspirations Paint or Paint Spot today. And while you're there, sign up for Dulux Trade Direct for trade pricing and simplified ordering. Because at Dulux Trade, we're making paint easy.
The number of people employed in construction in South Australia is at a record high, but all we hear every day is how hard it is to find good people. And that's really right across the board, whether it's trades, whether it's site managers, project managers, safety managers, contract administrators. It's really a tricky time too, because everyone's so busy, but filling those gaps is really tough. So here to discuss that today, it's a great pleasure to welcome you, Anna Roussos, founder and director of Roussos Recruitment. How are you doing, Anna?
Thanks, Will. No, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
And yes, I think I've recruited in South Australian construction for 20 years.
20 years, wow.
And it's never been so busy. So
Yeah.
there's good and bad with that, but it is great that everyone is got lots of work on.
And that's what we hear all the time from all the industry veterans. I've been in the industry for 40 years. I've never seen it as busy as it is right now. It's just nuts out there, isn't it?
Yeah, no, lots going on.
Yeah.
So lots going on.
So you said you've been in construction recruitment for 20 years now. Now, why construction? Has it always been a passion?
Yeah, look, my dad, Polish heritage. I think when you're Polish, I think you can build anything, but he was a residential builder.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was always out on site, and we did a lot of renovating of our homes, and so I was always with Dad, and I think I was digging foundations and all sorts. I got an ice cream for it, so that was good. But I think I just grew up with construction, so it was what I knew. I did when I started recruitment. It was back in the UK, so I did a couple of years in the UK, and then 18 years now here in South Australia. And I did trades and labour to start with, then administration, but always back into construction, property engineering, and architecture. And then I just really wanted to work in that technical space, and I love it. I wouldn't want to recruit in anything else. I love the people.
Yeah, so do I. I like it how it's an industry where you still find real characters in construction. A lot of these other industries are a bit dull, a bit boring. You still find larrikins, etc. in construction.
And they're emotional.
Yeah.
They're real. You can go into an office and have a glass of wine because someone just, won a big tender, or you're going in and having a glass of wine because someone just lost a big tender. But, the relationships I've formed over the years, I would say that I have a lot of amazing dads out there because, I've worked with them for over 15 years and seen how their business has grown and how it's changed. And that's now the same across architecture and engineering. So it's a great industry to be part of, and yeah, absolutely love it.
Can you remember the first person you ever recruited in our industry and what it was?
Oh, my God.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
No.
I thought that might be interesting.
One thing what's happened with age, I feel like I'm getting memory loss. No, I don't remember, but there's definitely a few careers that I feel that I've been really proud to be a part of. One was with someone that had moved over from Egypt. And this was about 15 years ago, and I won't mention his name, but I think some people may guess it.
I know who you're talking about, and yes, they're great, yeah.
And he really struggled. It's hard when you have people from overseas who haven't got local experience. But when I met with him, and I was still quite young, this is 15 years ago, but there was something really genuine and authentic about it, and there was so much passion and there was so much eagerness and humble. He was just so humble and wanting to get that role. And he took on a role. He actually went on, although he was quite experienced, he took on a pretty much an entry-level role, and was so happy when he actually got offered the opportunity. And I actually did speak to a few different prospective employers, and we just got the one opportunity in the end. He's still with that employer, and he's now 2IC within that organisation, and an absolute
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, they are. They are.
And then, I look at a couple of ladies that I've supported who are both project managers now in the industry, one mid-tier, and actually they both have been working in that mid-tier contractor as a PM. And they, interesting backgrounds because they actually came from design and both from residential. And they wanted to get into commercial but didn't know how to make that next step.
Yeah.
And, it was really for me understanding and partnering with businesses that I knew were, had a big picture around strategy and growth and had a focus on the right dynamic and diversity in their organisation. And so they both went in, both from residential, both design backgrounds, and one went into like a project coordinator role, more so interiors focused, because they were thinking, well, do you know what? They've got a passion for design. Design is detail. So within interiors, there's a lot more detail and focus on delivery. And the other one went into, estimating. With another mid-tier organisation. And now, 15 years on, I've helped them a couple of times because they've sort of reached after 5 years that next milestone and wanting to that next thing. But there's some things that I've just remembered going, it would have been probably quite difficult for them to make that next step if we didn't be able to give them that guidance. So, there's quite a few.
I think women in construction is obviously a special passion for you.
Yeah.
Do you think how much progress do you think we're making compared with say 10 years ago? Because we've got a lot of really good programs out there at the moment, but there's still only about 16% of the industry, and on the tools it's obviously only a couple of percent. But I think attitudes are changing, but we've still got a long way to go, don't we?
Look, I've actually seen a significant change, and look, I haven't had too much involved in the trades, but definitely in that white collar space. When I started recruitment, I was one of the first female technical recruiters, and there was a gentleman who was actually managing the desk that I was on, and I did get a bit of pushback initially about going onto that desk, and I felt a little bit intimidated going and speaking to a lot of the directors of the different contractors because it was so male dominant. But what I see now, that I would say a good 80 to 90% of the builders that I work with in South Australia, which is Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3, all ask, do you have more female professionals for me? I want CAs, I want PMs, I want site managers. They always want the best person for the job, but they always say, Anna, even if we don't have a job on, if you have a female that you feel is going to fit into our business, we want to hear from you. And they will create an opportunity. And I've got 2 young ladies that we're working with right now, which is very much just that couple of businesses have been saying, Anna, please let me know. And we've got 2 that have come through and they're having those conversations. So their employers absolutely want them. What's also been fantastic is that one of them needs a 9-day working fortnight because they're a mum, a single mum. And the 2 contractors that they've spoken said, we can accommodate that. We will make that happen. Those types of conversations weren't happening 10 years ago.
No, I can imagine.
Especially, we also helped another lady who was part-time who's working currently on one of the most iconic projects here in South Australia. She is a senior project coordinator. She's working part-time. And the project director and the state manager of that organisation did not hesitate once to go, oh, how are we going to make this work? They just said, we will make this work. So I think there's been amazing change, and I feel that I'm actually really proud of the industry and how it has adopted so well. I think our biggest challenge is to attract more young ladies to the industry because the opportunities are there. The flexibility is getting better. There's so many great mentors and it's a great industry to be part of. But it's like with sport, when I was playing sport, I had an option of netball and tennis, softball. Not once did anyone say to me, do you want to play soccer or football, Anna? I'm now a fanatic soccer mum because I've got 2 boys, unfortunately no girls, but I would have loved a little girl. But it's the same thing. It's from the parents. It's the parents saying, hey, have you considered, you're great at this. Have you considered doing construction? Or, you're great with your hands. Do you want to do a trade? So we need to tap into the mums and dads because the opportunity in our industries are there and everyone wants to support women coming in and becoming great managers. But we need more coming in. So mums and dads, we need to get the mums and dads involved.
Absolutely. So, we talk about these massive skill shortages, but we're really only tapping into half our potential workforce or only a bit above. But I think that is changing. But about 16%, like I said, is female. we definitely need more women to plug those gaps. And if you're talking about things like the gender pay gap, we've got a really high-paying industry like construction where the average salary is very strong now compared with most other industries. So if women want to earn more money, construction's a great choice. And like you said, employers are starting to look at flexibility and work-life balance in a new way that just wasn't there not that long ago at all.
That's it. I've got 2 children. I went back to work with both my boys at 4 months, and for me, I was very career orientated, and I wouldn't have changed that. Like, I look at my 13-year-old and he's super independent, and I don't feel I've scarred him by going back to work early. But, you know, in any career, whether you're male or female, if you want to progress, you do need to make some sacrifices, and you do need to work out what that happy balance is for you, so you're a happy human. Because there's more to life than just your career. But, you know, the salaries are fantastic, and yes, they're slowly getting higher and higher. But as you sort of move up the ranking, there is more expectation, there is more responsibility, and it's just trying to work out, well, you know, sometimes when if you're in a senior role, and a 9 to 3 day is probably not quite possible because you've got people reporting through to you. So you might have to tell you a day where you are doing some emails in the evening, or you wake up a little bit earlier before the kids wake up, and just structuring it. So it's looking at, you have to be, I think, well organised as a professional, especially as a female professional.
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we get into the female market from an early age, and that's why I think the work that Amanda Hewer, our Born to Build field officer, is doing is so important. Getting out to, you know, schools, sporting clubs with teenage girls, and just opening their eyes. And she does some really cool stuff, like some, you know, hands-on trade activities, and she just says the girls can't believe how fun it is to actually, you know, get their hands dirty in construction.
Yeah, no, it is good. I remember at one point we had one of the main hospitals, not main hospitals, but a key private hospital being delivered in the middle of the CBD, and from memory, the project director, the senior project manager, and the commercial manager were all female.
Yeah, wow.
All female, which was fantastic. 2 of them did come in from interstate to actually deliver that project. One was local, and that person's still here. So, you know, that's just, you know, I think from memory it was over a $200 million, nearly $300 million project. Huge, but, you know, led by women.
That's great.
Which is cool.
Speaking of companies led by women, Roussos Recruitment, it's just recently celebrated its 6-year anniversary, I think. So how's it all going down there? Tell us a bit about the team you've got there.
Well, like you said, we're very busy. So when I started the business 6 years ago, we had a strong focus in commercial construction. Adelaide's a great state to do business in. It's all very much about the relationship and doing a good job and building trust. And so we've grown really organically. And, you know, the builders work with the architects work with the engineers and the architects work in the client side, project managers. And so we've just naturally grown, mainly from, you know, referrals, which has been fantastic. So now a team of 11. And, you know, we do everything from, you know, front end, working closely now with DIT and Renewal SA. So, you know, from design through to delivery, developers, civil infrastructure, residential, commercial building, anything to do with property infrastructure, we do, which has been great. I think for us, you know, what I love, and the reason why I wanted to set up my own business is I love, there's 2 things. One, I do love developing people's careers, and I wanted to be in a business that I can actually sit down and actually make sure we're making the right decisions for that person, where it's not just about a job, it's about their career and what steps they need to take to get to where they want to be potentially in 10 years' time. A lot of graduates will come out and they're a little bit unsure, or they think they need to go a certain way to hit something, and they don't actually understand the full market. Or you'll get someone who, you know, is just a little bit lost. Like, you know, it's amazing how many people who are actually in their 40s who are feeling really burnt out in our industry at the moment, and they're sort of feeling like they're just losing the love for what they're doing. And so we try and redirect them a little bit more, or talk about other businesses that may suit what they're wanting. And I feel like in our business we can do that. We can actually take the time and do what's right for that candidate, rather than just sending a CV somewhere. And on the flip side, you know, one of the things I've loved doing is growing Roussos, and there's ups and downs in growing a business. It's highly emotional when you need to recruit for your own business.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I feel like I recruit better for my clients than I actually recruit sometimes for myself. But I understand how important it is, how each person in a business can make an impact. And so to go in and to understand an organisation, what their strategy is, what they're trying to achieve and turn over, potentially what type of projects they're trying to win and secure, and the type of people they may need to actually position themselves well, that's something that I've absolutely loved. And that's why we've wanted to continue to grow Roussos and be a lot more involved with different organisations. And, I do feel when we work and partner with a client, it's like like my company. And so I would never present someone to them that I wouldn't want to take on for me. So it's been fantastic. It's been really good, and I've loved it. I've turned 40, so I'm still young, and for us, we're still definitely, we're growing. We've got probably 2 more people starting in the next few weeks. There's so much happening in infrastructure at the moment. So we're positioning ourselves well to have, a support of 3 in that space. And because a lot of our clients are national, and, sort of coming at the end of the year, we'll also be looking at scaling interstate, but we're just trying to work out which way to go.
It seems like you've got a great culture there at Roussos, and it seems like you're always, as well as working hard, you're always out doing all kinds of really fun activities. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Sometimes I see it and I feel quite envious, to be honest.
I think sometimes people think that we don't work. And I was like, this is not what I want people to perceive. No, because we work really hard. Yeah, no, look, a big thing when we wanted to set up the business is to have a really strong focus on wellness.
Yeah.
Energy, positivity, and then also have a strong social purpose. So with the hiking is because we've been supporting the Jada Lee Foundation the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's great.
And with that, it's not just the team hiking. We actually invite our clients to come along, and we pay for their entry and their accommodation, and what they need to do is hike the 80 kilometres and actually and get sponsors. So it's been fantastic as a business. We've raised now for the Jada Lee Foundation over $200,000. So it's
fantastic.
Been a great achievement for us. But, it's about a happy balance. And, I wanted to make sure that I'm walking in an environment where I feel a really good energy and just being really positive, because that's, that's going to help us and how we speak to our clients and our candidates. And it's a tough industry, and I think also it's not easy when you're feeling a little bit unsure about your career and you're feeling a bit flat, and your work can really impact you mentally overall. And so people come in to see us, and so we have an obligation to make sure they feel okay and that they feel like there's a way forward for them. And sometimes that way forward is just actually us giving them the tools to actually have a conversation with their current manager, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
That's right.
But they're just a little bit unsure. And that's, that's one thing is where I probably feel when it comes to the ladies, especially the younger ladies, and if they're reporting to a male, they're a little bit scared to have those sort of conversations. And when you talk about the pay gap, that's where I felt in the past they could be left behind a little bit, because sometimes some people are a little bit more forward and saying, hey, I feel like I'm being underpaid, or I'm working too hard, I feel like I need an extra 10K. And so we'll sometimes say, well, you know what, like you have to demonstrate value in everything that you do. But if you feel like you're ticking all these boxes and you feel like you're hitting your KPIs and you're dedicated and you're showing that you're invested, and you know what, maybe you are $10,000 a little bit underpaid, but you love the business that you're working for, let's find a way so you can have that conversation, because there's no point you leaving, because who knows, yes, you may get $10,000 more with your next employer, but they may not tick these other boxes that you're really loving right now. So, but yes, positivity, wellness, energy, you just got to go for it.
That's so true, and that's something I definitely emphasise with my team is energy and positivity. And the reason why is I think attitudes are contagious.
Yeah.
So, do you want to be around someone who's, energetic, positive, wants to kick some goals, or do you want to be around someone who's negative, lazy? I know who I want to work with. And people that you interact with, whether it's your clients or our members, they can see whether you're energetic or passionate or not. And if they see you are, they want to get involved.
Yeah, I know. I think some people think I'm a little bit crazy, but that's okay.
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
That's okay. But I love what I do.
Yeah.
And and I'm really proud to say that. I've worked in this industry for nearly 20 years in recruitment, and I love what I do. And I probably would still come to work if I didn't get paid. I have got kids going to a private school, so I do need to get paid. But what I love is being able to show my team, and they see that energy and they see how much I love our industry and the connections that I've formed over the years, and it's been fantastic. It's also been great because, George has come in as our managing director, and George has worked within the industry in senior levels across construction and client side and development. And so you've got another person in our business who's not only understands how the market works in every potential role, but he also loves the industry. So you've got two leaders who just love construction, property and engineering, and they get to work with that every day. So I think they're pretty lucky.
Yeah, it's a great.
I'm going to remind them of that. They're pretty lucky, but
They'll be
it's
lucky.
great. Yeah, it's really good.
It's a great industry. It's so visible to everyone. It touches so many people's lives. It's such a big generator of our economic growth and employment. I think it's the best industry going around.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too many places you can go. And one of the ladies that's going to be starting with us soon, she has worked in recruitment, but she was going, oh, look, I'd love to be able to place people that I know are making an impact. And I'm like, well, you can. We're going to find a PM that's going to work on this sort of project and they're going to deliver that. Like, you're involved in that. So, yeah, it's really good. But it's, looking at, I think for us, the talent shortage. So we've got, women's and children's, that's going to be starting. We've got significant levels of work in defence. On top of women's and children's, I think there's over $1 billion worth of health work that's coming out. We've got an infrastructure pipeline that's never been seen before here in South Australia. Yeah. Peter Malauskas has now also released the largest land release,
fantastic.
ever.
Yeah.
And we've been really fortunate to be working closely with the Department of Trade and Investment for that as well, to get the right person to lead that project. So it's a fantastic time to be in construction, but to stay in South Australia.
Absolutely. I think there's a great buzz around South Australia at the moment.
Stability for the next 10 years. Yeah. And this is the time I think people need to look at, well, how can I develop my career on these amazing projects that are coming up and build really strong foundations? And I think that's really important. I think the only thing that's really changed a lot is that what I've seen is that people are progressing probably a little bit too quickly, I think, when it comes to responsibilities. And they shouldn't be afraid to stay in that same role for 3 to 5 years before that next step.
Yes.
Because to be good at your role and to then be a good leader for the future, you need to navigate all the good stuff and the bad stuff that happens on a project, because there's so much learning you can do. So that's one thing I really do encourage people just to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Make
sure you've ticked all those boxes before you feel that you need to jump onto that next job title. Because if something goes wrong, it's not a great outcome.
Yeah. So. Particularly people under 30, I feel like if you can get 2 years out of them, that's a pretty good result.
Yeah, it's massive. It's like, it is really hard. I think what I encourage our employers, so, what people want right now. So yes, salary is a big deal, mainly because interest rates keep rising. But I'll be honest, there's not much more movement we can have in our salaries. I know from the employer's perspective, margins on some of these key projects, whether it's architecture, engineering or construction, it's really tight. So, businesses still need to make money to be able to then still pay those salaries.
That's right.
And if they start losing money, then there's not going to be any jobs for anyone to actually go into, let alone getting salary increases. But, I always say to organisations, you got to offer more than just a salary to someone to retain them. And it's those little things that, affirmation. I think what's missing is communication.
Yeah.
People want hey, grab me for coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you. How are you going? Are you going all right? Thank you for what you're doing. I know you're working really hard.
Yeah.
That's not happening enough. And people go, oh, we'll do a performance review. Performance review once a year is not enough to make someone feel that you're really invested in their journey and that you're grateful that they're part of your business.
Yeah.
At Roussos, we talk to our individuals every 2 weeks, every fortnight, and we huddle. We're a smaller business, so we get to huddle twice a week as well as a team. So stop with the emailing, organise and have those regular catch-ups, but it should be at least once a month.
There's no substitute for face-to-face, is there, Anna?
Or at least a quarter. Yeah. So they want affirmation. They, a big thing they come to me for is, money is one factor. I'm not really feeling appreciated. I have no idea where my career is going. And we see that more so in a smaller business, because in a tier one, they have the HR who have got all their job descriptions and KPIs, and they'll work, but a smaller business won't. And so they need to map it out. They actually need to look at, well, how would a graduate come into my business and how would they progress? And in what stream can they progress? What are the job descriptions? What are the KPIs? But because if someone doesn't know, then they start to not feel invested in that journey. They don't feel fulfilled. They're going to move, and they will. They want more structure. And so I think some businesses are running a little bit too loose, and it's going to impact them, especially when there's going to be this talent shortage isn't going away. So it's probably even going to get worse before it gets better. So I would definitely encourage if they can sit down, speak to them more, have a little more structure for them. And, it's not about that you need, culture. And it's like, oh, we're going to have a great culture. It's not about bringing the table tennis, into the, or, darts, whatever it is. It's Where are the family barbecues gone?
Yeah.
It's like,
They used to be a staple in our industry.
I don't know, how many barbecues out on site there used to be. Like, I know COVID had changed things, but people want that. They want to be able to connect their employers, the part of their community. It's like it's that second family. And so, having this doesn't have to go anywhere fancy, but maybe it's more than just the Friday drinks, but they need to look at just the simple things of bringing back in so people feel more a part, and people want to know the why. People want to know what their strategy is. What are we looking at doing this year? Are we looking at growing and increasing our turnover by 5 million? But why are we doing that? Is that just because you want more money in your pocket, or is that because we're trying to take on more projects, so that gives us the opportunity to for me to project manage education rather than just defence, for instance. I'm using some sort of examples. So I know a lot of smaller businesses can't have a people and culture manager, but definitely they need to look at what their value proposition is, and that LinkedIn platform and sharing what their value proposition is and what makes them different is going to be essential to attract the right people. So we play a part in that. So when people come to us, we become like brand ambassadors for different organisations, and we really dig deep to understand and make sure it's ticking everyone's boxes. But they have a big part in that, because once they go to interview, that's it. That's up to them for that business to be able to portray what their point of difference is compared to another contractor. But if we get a site manager or a PM or a CA, everyone in the market will take them at the moment if they're good. So they do need to actually, and we also encourage 2 interviews. And
are they the 3 most in-demand jobs you're seeing at the moment in our industry, in your space?
It really does shift. Last year it was estimators, because there was so much more work to price. We've seen an increase also in technical admin roles, so like submission coordinators.
Yep.
It's also interesting because there's been a shortage of project managers. So a lot of the directors have had to become, or construction managers, more hands-on in delivery. So then we've been seeing admin support in the EA capacity. So that's really come up online, because I need help here, so I can then go and do this. What we're seeing is that we've got a lot of great talent that's maturing in South Australia, and they're going to retire, and we're going to lose all this amazing skill set. And what worries me is that we're not extracting enough information from them, or giving them the time to be more invested in the juniors that are coming through, because there's so much work going on that their focus is, get this job project done, get this done. And I would love to be able to say, well, how do we mentor these people? Because you're going to go and there's no one here. So we're seeing not a lot of people through senior management or really experienced. There's a definite shortage for people between 17 to 15 years in South Australia. And I think that comes back down to when GFC hit.
Yeah.
During that time, I remember there was all this publicity around the industry, but don't go into construction, it's too up and down, and you can't. But reality was, not many people got made redundant during GST in construction. If you're actually good at what you're doing,
or COVID for that matter, in our industry, we fared very well compared with most industries.
So well.
Yeah.
So we've got a gap here, and then we have a lot of that 2 to 5 years. That's a big portion. Whether it's site management, project coordination, CAs, PMs, they're really early on in their career. But how do we get these people better? And that's where we need to really leverage off the most experienced people we have in our business and get them to do more training and development, get them back investing in this younger generation. So, like I said, there's going to be challenges. I love our industry, don't get me wrong. There's going to be challenges attracting people, but it's also challenges in developing and training. And there are some businesses in South Australia that already are doing such great things in training and developing their people, and great programs internally, but we need more. To make sure that everyone's doing all the right things.
I think there's a really good buzz around South Australia at the moment. I think we're attracting really good events. There's more people living here. Population growth's actually going up, which is fantastic. And I think there's a renewed sense of state pride around the place as well. Like, people feel a lot more proud to call South Australia their home. I think the last few years have really demonstrated what a great place it is to live and work.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really, really good. I think and even when it comes to salaries, what I have noticed when it comes to senior professionals in South Australia, salaries on a senior level are very comparable to Melbourne. Yeah. So it's, if you're that
dollar's going to go a lot further here than in Melbourne, that's for sure.
Construction manager or a senior development manager, and we've recruited those roles here in South Australia, and we've sort of assisted interstate, and they're very comparable. So you might as well stay here. What is actually interesting, that all those salaries have gone up across South Australia. It's not senior management that's gone up. It's the entry roles, where we're getting graduates now that are coming out of uni, being able to jump in a role at 70, 75K.
So you recruit at that level as well, just right at from
right
entry
from the
level
start.
right to
So we'll
most
have,
senior.
we'll have people that are in their last year or doing their masters, and because some smaller businesses don't have, like I said, people in culture and HR who are involved in the universities, they'll come to us and say, hey, if you get someone that you feel could be a good fit for us, then please send them through, and that is on building and on civil.
So Anna, what's your best tip for perhaps a recent graduate that's looking to make their mark in the industry, to get their foot in the door and really get started? What's your number one piece of advice?
I feel they need to be prepared to get their hands dirty. And what I mean is that learn everything and don't be precious around the responsibilities. I look at, and I'm going to actually go back and refer to George, my husband, who's been part of the industry. When he first started, he was, he came on board, he actually did a commerce degree, so slightly different, but he came on board and he did CA, he did estimating, he did site administration, he did documentation, he did minute taking. He was a sponge.
You want to be a jack of all trades.
He learned everything. And so by the time he was 32, because he had all exposure, he was construction manager.
Yeah.
I find this, they're coming out of university being very particular on what they want to do, the type of project that they want. And I kind of go,
most people just can't have that luxury.
Just get out there and just learn, ask questions, and just don't be afraid, and don't go, oh, I'm not going to do that because that's not going to make me a project manager. If you've got the opportunity to go out to site, go do it. But that's the thing, is I think that's just, I see that with, not just in construction, but in administration. Everyone's very precious around what their job title is and what are their key responsibilities. And my thing is just, you just got to go in there, you got to do the work, you got to be grateful, you got to be humble, you got to listen, and you got to be invested. And, there was this thing on TikTok around, this was last year, about acting your wage. And what, it was quite silly. They were basically saying, well, if you're getting paid $60,000 a year, then act your wage. Go come in at 9 and finish at 5.
No, that's not how you progress.
No, but I sort of see it, well, no, but you know what? Maybe you are on that, but do you want to earn 100K?
That's how you should be acting, what you want to be earning.
That's it. It's the same way how I was told you should always dress for the role you want to be in.
Yeah.
But it's looking at going, well, do you know what? Go in, get in early, ask the questions, prepare for your meetings. And look, I understand people do need to have a work-life balance. And I think in construction, you need to make sure that you're doing all the things that you love, like your exercise and your hobbies, and you don't want to work really hard and then you get burnt out by the time you're 40. So it is a balance, but whether it's 2-3 times a week that you stay a little bit longer or you come in a little bit earlier, do it. And so I think that's what I'd be saying. It's just they've got to change their mindset and realize that any opportunity is a great opportunity, and invest in what you're doing, and not just think that you need to move. Another thing on TikTok right now is they're encouraging people to move every 2 years, because if you move every 2 years, apparently you're going to get a better salary. And what?
I see red flags as an employer when I see too much movement, to be honest.
I agree. The thing is,
I don't want a great person for 12 months.
No, they're investing so much time into that person. But we're coming to a point, though, that employers are having no choice but to hire those types of individuals. And I would say that, do I encourage people to leave every 2 years? No, I don't. I don't feel that you really immerse yourself enough and learn enough from the employer. And I do feel that, what comes around goes around. I think, you've got to have loyalty. You got to align yourself to your values, what you actually stand for, and be grateful. But I think if you get to a point in a business where you feel like you're not growing, not salary-wise, but you're actually not feeling challenged, and you've had conversations with your employer and saying, hey, look, I'm finding this quite easy and I'm sort of ready for the next thing and I feel like I've done this really well. Okay, then maybe, yes, you need to have a bit of a look. So I'm a big believer in having a growth mindset and continue progressing myself and, and learning. But it should never be because I want to get more money. You do a good job, money will come. That it will always come. There's no one who I know in the marketplace who's not good at what they do that aren't getting paid above market here in South Australia. So, but yeah, we need them to want to stay a little bit long term. But, there is a responsibility from the employer as well to make sure they can retain them and look after them. That goes back to the thank yous. You've got to give them affirmation. You've got to speak to them. They're not as resilient as like we were.
No, that's right. It's very true.
And they want more praise. And it's the same with my children. I'm constantly like, well done. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
So whilst, when I grew up, my dad was like, and I just work hard, be respectful and honest. That's it. That's what I got told. well, now it's a little bit different.
Well, great words of advice, whether you're an employer or an employee, really. And it's been great to have you on the podcast, Anna. Love your passion, and no doubt we'll see each other again very soon.
No, it's great. It's been great. And love the industry. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks for joining me on Building Perspective. For more information on Master Builders or our guests, please visit our website at mbasa.com.au.